Welcome to Inside the Indians, your source for insider information on the Tribe. Stay with us as we bring you the latest about the players, managers, and people behind the scenes at Victory Field. Now here's your host, the longtime broadcast voice of the Indians, Howard Kellman.
Hi everybody, I'm Howard Kellman and welcome to another edition of Inside the Indians. On today's show, we'll talk with the manager of the Indianapolis Indians, Bryan Esposito, with Tribe hitting coach Bryan Long, and with Indians infielder-outfielder Christopher Bostick. We'll be back with Bryan Esposito on Inside the Indians. Manager of the Indianapolis Indians, Bryan Esposito, our first guest on Inside the Indians. Bryan, take us back to growing up in Staten Island. You're signing your first contract. You came out of college. Tell us the story.
University of Connecticut. And the funny thing is it's right on that borderline between who's a Yankee fan and who's a Red Sox fan. Grew up a Yankee fan my entire life. And then hear my name called by the Red Sox, which was rather interesting because I had a lot of my teammates that were from the Connecticut, Massachusetts area that were huge Red Sox fans that were happy. Had a lot of people from my neck of the woods where I grew up as a kid that were not too pleased with that. And they thought for sure I was going to turn down the opportunity to be a Red Sox. And they, obviously don't know what was at stake and, what that did for my career. But it was pretty cool.
Well, you don't have a great climate there, conducive for baseball in Connecticut. So how did you get your work in? How did everything go there?
You adapt to it. There were a lot of times where if the sun was out and there was no snow on the ground, that was a great day for us to go outside and work. We had some fields, that were either a football field that was turfed up or the lacrosse field that was turfed that we were able to get out there and set up a mock infield and do some things if there was snow on our grass field or if there was some inclement weather. We just practiced inside. We had a building with a kind of a rubber floor and, it is what it is. We made the best of what we had and we had an indoor hitting facility, which was great. Indoor mounds and all that kind of stuff, but as far as just the infield, we just set up whatever we could, wherever we could get it done.
You've been in several different organizations as a player and a coach. Is there a big difference being in a National League organization as opposed to an American League organization?
Absolutely. There's, in a National League, you talk about spring training, there's a lot of movement with the pitchers and they're getting their work done from the offensive standpoint. They've got to work on bunting, they've got to work on base running, they've got to work on being able to own their performance at the plate as well as on the mound. So the dynamics of spring training is a little bit different as opposed to the American League where guys just kind of roll in and it's, your standard pitchers go to one side, they do their pitching, they do their defensive work, and they're good for the day. So we incorporate a lot of that offensive stuff, and we try to get that blend here as well of getting these guys prepared. So we'll have our pitchers during some drills that we're doing with our defense, get on the bases, get some bunts down, do different things during the workday, and then they bunt and they hit and do all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's different. It's a lot different, but I love it.
You mentioned that you talk about the differences in the two leagues and the fact that one league has a DH, the other doesn't. There's an adjustment when a guy like Mickey Callaway, who's the Mets manager, was Cleveland's pitching coach, he's like, wow, the National League is really different here. In the American League, you just wait for somebody to hit a home run. It's much different.
Yeah, that always comes up. As I sit in there, I'm calculating, your pitching changes and you're looking at different situations. And, from an offensive standpoint, you have that pitcher spot coming up. So you have to be a little bit more aggressive, whether it's on your base running or letting those guys go ahead and swing the bat a little bit and, remove the idea of small ball. But then you also have that level of, do I make a decision right now? I have a pitcher that's pitching really well. Do I make this move on the offensive side or do I want to continue running my pitcher out there, whether it's the 6th or the 7th inning or maybe possibly the 8th? Do I make that move to try to tack on a run or, do I let that guy go out there and finish his job on the mound? So there's a lot of thought process that goes into the game and that's what makes it fun.
And because of the situation here, where in some cases, when the Indians play an American League affiliate, there is a DH. When we play a National League affiliate, like a Louisville, a Gwinnett, Philadelphia, Lehigh Valley, there is no DH, so you get to manage in both situations.
Yeah, that's what happens at the major league level nowadays too. Depending on if you're home or away when you play interleague, you're going to be faced with those challenges as well. So it's good when we have our National League games down here because from a development standpoint, there is a level of preparation involved in getting your bench players prepared to come in on double switches, prepared for that pinch hit at bat. You know, it used to just be, well, I'm not playing today, you'll get a pinch hit at bat. Well, the preparation runs deeper now. As you go through your workday, you're preparing for those opportunities, for those pitchers, for that certain matchup. And when that guy sees it, the mentality on the bench starts to turn on and say, okay, I need to get myself in this position because this is the guy I'm probably going to face if he makes a move. So everything's kind of a unique blend now in how we train and how we prepare. So I really enjoy our National League games down here.
And in the National League games, that number 8 hitter is a key man in your lineup.
Absolutely. He's got to be able to do some things. He's got to be willing to take his walk. At times, he also got to know when he's got to be able to expand his zone and find a barrel when they're trying to work around him a little bit. So it's a really gritty, tough at-bat in that spot. You do the best you can to find that hitter. You know, sometimes there's a guy that usually hits 8 that could probably hit somewhere in the top, whether it's 1, 2, or in that 5, 6 area, but you slide him down to the 8 hole for some protection down there. You know, we've seen some pitchers in this league hitting the 8 spot, and the position player has gone in the 9 hole. I'm not really a big fan of that. You know, I just want an 8 hitter that's going to be competitive in the box and knows what the situation looks like.
I've never been a big fan of the pitcher batting 8th. I'm not capable of outthinking myself, and I think some people are. And going back to the number 8 guy, I mean, 2 outs and nobody on. If he can get on base, you're able to turn your batting order, or leading off an inning, 1 out, nobody on. If he gets on base, your pitcher can be productive with a sacrifice bunt.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's some numbers, I guess, that go into it, and you look at how many times that 8 spot comes up with 2 outs or whatever the situation may be. I'm not smart enough to outdo those kinds of things myself anyway, so I just worry about pitchers in the 9 hole. We're good to go. If we need to take them out and pinch hit it, we're good.
Yeah, well, we saw Syracuse batting its pitcher 8th a few times, and then you come up with a couple of men on base and 2 outs, and the pitcher comes up, and I'm thinking, wouldn't you rather have a position player up there instead?
You know, in this day and age too, now you're starting to see some pitchers that can handle the bat a little bit, and they're really working on their craft. Like I mentioned earlier about how they're preparing in spring training for these games. You know, we got burned in Syracuse twice by the pitcher. The pitcher had a 2-out hit and shot a ball down the right field line and put some runners across. So we've got some guys that can swing the bat as well. As far as hitting the 8th, I'm not really interested in seeing that, but it's part of your development as well. It's owning your game. If you're out there on the mound trying to keep them off, you might as well have a bat in your hand. You got to say it, and you might as well try to push them across yourself.
Now, how important is winning to player development?
It's important. You know, winning becomes a byproduct of all the hard work and the effort that you put in there, but you know, being a winner and knowing how to win, that's a different kind of mentality as well. If you show up every day to play this game and prepare for this game, you know, not willing to lose, the effort comes into play, and that's what I think that winning does. Winning puts the edge and the effort into your ball players every day.
When you get to the major leagues, winning's everything. That's what it's about. So does it help if guys have won at the minor leagues when they get to the big leagues, they've been on winning teams?
Absolutely. Historically, I remember growing up as a kid and listening to being a Yankee fan, and you know, Steinbrenner's thing was that he wanted guys to win at least 2 rings in the minor leagues before they came on up to the big leagues, which tells you a lot about how important winning is. Do we jeopardize development? Do we risk development for winning? No, but if we do everything the way we're supposed to do it, winning becomes a byproduct, and it's on the forefront of everything we do anyway.
Well said, Espo. Thank you so much.
You got it.
That's Bryan Esposito on Inside the Indians. Bryan Long, the new hitting coach of the Indianapolis Indians, is our pregame guest. Bryan, great to have you aboard. And tell us your feelings on being a AAA hitting coach now.
Oh, very excited, obviously. You know, great place to be a hitting coach, great town, great ballpark. Hadn't been here a number of years, so when I heard of the opportunity, very excited, obviously. Butch did an awesome job these guys past 3 years, and just want to kind of pick up where he left off, some of the work he did.
Now, you've been in the Pirates system as a hitting coach for a number of years. Is it a major change going to AAA?
A little bit. I mean, haven't worked with some A-ball guys the last 3 years consecutively. Yeah, a little difference in some preparation things and the way the guys are, and some of the ownership they have too. So in some ways it's easier. There's some things a little different too, as expected.
As a general rule, will you approach, let's say, a Kevin Kramer who's in his first year at AAA ball, differently than you approach a veteran player? Yeah,
there may be. I mean, there may be little things. There's some things that we do a little differently with those guys, and maybe some guys that have been here before. So, and a lot of it's just paying attention to what's going on around him. and helping each other out. We encourage that a lot, man. Let's pick each other up. Let's look to help each other out when we get a chance.
Tell us some of your philosophies of hitting and some of the things you try to get across to the players.
Yeah, I mean, our main thing is barreling the baseball. So we're looking to barrel the ball, a big part of the field. With that, obviously, comes pitch selection. So if I'm going to barrel balls, I got to get pitchers to do it. So the zoning work we do is a big part of it, particularly in hot zones. What am I good at? What are my strengths? So we try to attack those on our training days as much as possible. The other thing we encourage is mentally tough ABs, mentally tough at bats. So, from one hitter to the next, if we can be mentally tough, how much harder does that make it on a pitcher? How much harder does that make our lineup to get through? So those are kind of some of the things we talk about on a daily basis.
You mentioned pitch selection. I remember as a kid reading Ted Williams' book, The Science of Hitting, and he said the number one rule is get a good pitch to hit. That's the first thing. It starts with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's sounds easy, but that's where it is. And then there's other things that deter from that. Obviously, guys are thinking about other stuff sometimes. They're not feeling right, and it gets away from them. So we always try to draw them back to, are you getting good pitches? Are you getting your pitch? And a strike necessarily isn't a good pitch to hit. Is it in your zone? Are you able to do damage to it?
What's the difference for you as a hitter with a count 2-0, 3-1 as opposed to 0-2?
Yeah, I mean, you can obviously you're looking to eliminate some things in those counts. You take some of the guesswork out of it, some of the doubts removed. I think that's why two-strike hitting is obviously more difficult. Some guys have a little more plate to cover. With a 2-0 or a leverage count, a 3-1 situation, I can shrink it a little bit, right? Because if he throws me a strike I'm not looking for, I'm still in the at bat. I still got a chance. Whereas 2 strikes, obviously, I take a risk of going back to the dugout. But with some guys, we actually still stay with the same approach. Just depends on who they are.
What about strikeouts? Because at the major league level, they're talking about this. More players are striking out, Ryan, than they ever had before. What are your feelings on that?
Personally, we as a team, and I think we're good at this, is, we don't fear hitting with 2 strikes, but we hate striking out. Now that's just this particular group. We got a bunch of guys on this team that don't enjoy it. They don't want to go down that way. So I look at a lot of times how we're getting there. That's a big part of it. Are we taking pitches and getting there that are our pitches to hit, or are we getting there by chasing out of the zone? So those are more particular things I look at rather than the actual strikeout numbers. And then how are we battling? Once we do get there mentally tough, how are we doing when we do get there? Are we mentally tough, or do we panic right away just because we have a 2-strike situation? So
that's a good point. Now some guys are not making any adjustments. Years ago, players would choke up. They'd do anything not to strike out. But a lot of guys now, and you hear it at the major league level, they're just trying to hit home runs and no 2-strike adjustments.
Yeah, I mean I guess it's a different philosophy. It's to each his own. The thing is that we try to preach is if you find barrel most of these guys with 2 strikes even, they can still hit the ball out with the adjustments they've made. So that continues to be a selling point. I know it's important for us is getting these guys ready for the big picture at Pittsburgh. We believe in putting balls in play. Still making hard contact, but believe in not going down, going down with a fight and trying to be mentally tough. Like I said, you might foul some pitches off and leave the guy behind you in a better spot and even have a strikeout. So that's something we look at too there. How many pitches are you seeing once you do get 2 strikes? Here we do a little thing where if you see multiple pitches after 2 strikes, we kind of reward you a little bit. So we're encouraged to keep fighting, keep battling.
Those are some great points. So you can have a runner at second, nobody out. This won't show up in the box score, but if your man strikes out, you don't get him over. If he hits a ground ball to the right side, it won't show up, but he did his job. He was productive with his plate appearance.
Absolutely. I mean, even if he sees 8 or 10 pitches, what's that do to a pitcher? A lot of guys, it tires them down a little bit. So maybe the guy behind him gets a better pitch to hit in that situation. So, yeah, these are the kind of things we try to talk about on a nightly basis. A non-box score offense, like you said, and how can we continue to build on that and look for those opportunities.
Ryan, great to have you aboard. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Howard. Nice to be here.
That's Bryan Long, the Indianapolis Indians hitting coach. This is the home of the Indians, WHMB TV 40. Tribe infielder, outfielder, Christopher Bostick, our next guest on Inside the Indians. Christopher, for a minute, let's go back to last year. Congratulations on all you achieved. You had a terrific year. Let's get your thoughts on last year.
Yeah, it was a good year. First year in a new organization, new place. I'd never been to Indianapolis, so it was nice. I, kind of settled in and just kind of was able to do my thing, so it was fun.
And part of doing your thing and settling is you got to the major leagues for the first time with the Pirates. We were in Columbus, I believe, when you got the word. Tell us what was going through your mind that day.
It was really exciting. I mean, it's the moment that everybody dreams about from the time that they're a little kid, just hearing that they're going to get an opportunity to go and put a major league uniform on. So it was a lot of fun, and I was really grateful for the opportunity. I was lucky that I was able to get my parents and my then fiance, my wife now, she was able to come out, and so it was a really fun time.
You got up there in September and you had some hits and held your own, did well.
Yeah, it was good. I didn't get a ton of at-bats, but, I was able to, get a couple and just kind of, same thing, do what I do, and it was good. There was still a little bit of a, like a shock feeling, and, it takes a little bit to get adjusted to just, being in a different, being in front of all the lights and all the people and everything. So, it was fun, and hopefully I get another opportunity. So.
Do you notice a big difference between the major leagues and AAA ball?
The game is the game. There's obvious differences. The lights are a little brighter, the stadiums are bigger, there's more people, things like that. But at the end of the day, the game is the game, and the guys might be a little more polished or a little better, but at the end of the day, if you can just do what you do, and everything is just the same. So.
You hear the term, Christopher, not only AAA to the big leagues, but maybe AA to AAA, that the game speeds up. Is that the case, and is that strictly physical, or is that mental aspect to it too?
I think it's both. The physical aspect of just, guys are a little bit more sharp. They're there for a reason. There's a reason why they're not in the minor leagues. But then the mental aspect of it too. There's so much going on. There's so much, just from the in-game entertainment to, just having so many people there and all those things that, the games go by pretty quickly up there where, sometimes you can find yourself dragging or lulling around in the minor leagues. It seems like the games are taking 6 hours, but up there, the games can kind of get away from you a little bit because there's so much going on.
And you're on a bigger stage up there too.
For sure, yeah. It's, not only a lot going on out there, but you feel like everybody's looking at you. You feel like there's 100 cameras in there that, they're going to catch everything that you do, so.
Well, as we said, you had a very good year last year, and what's nice is you got off to an excellent start this season, too.
Yeah, just trying to, take what I learned last year about, just kind of being resilient, doing the things that I do best and not really worrying about other things, and, just trying to keep it consistent and, have another good year.
You grew up in Rochester, New York, upstate New York, not a conducive climate to playing baseball. Tell us the story behind your signing. You were not a high draft choice.
Yeah, I was drafted late. Really wasn't expected to sign. I ended up playing in a collegiate summer league that year with my brother and did pretty well. And all of a sudden, the A's who had drafted me, they decided that they wanted to come see me again. And I was kind of riding the high of, doing well in that league and everything. And, understood that I could go back to school at any point, so decided that, I would do it. So it was cool.
And you're obviously not in the Oakland A's organization. You've been traded a few times, which doesn't usually happen with a young player.
Yeah, 3 times now. I always say you don't expect to get traded once. You certainly don't expect to get traded twice. And then, the third time is kind of like it's kind of weird. But yeah, it's cool. I've never been in one place for longer than 2 years, so I guess I'll see if I'm here next year.
What was it like when you were told you were traded? What goes through your mind?
It's pretty exciting the first time because, you hear about that it's a really good thing. You hear from everybody that when you're in the minor leagues, getting traded is one of the best things that can happen to you. And then the second time to have it happen again, it's like, oh, it's another excitement, another new place. Really the hardest thing is just trying to learn everybody's names. And then the third time is just, you've been through it, you've been there, you've done that. You just can't wait to get to the next place and, do what you do. So
This is a good Indianapolis Indians ball club, a lot of talent.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of talent here. We had a lot of talent here last year. From what I understand, the Indians have put a pretty good team out there for the past few years. So, we do well. It's a good atmosphere, good clubhouse, and everybody's out there pulling for each other.
Now, you've played both the infield and the outfield. Tell us your feelings on both.
I came up as an infielder, mostly an infielder. Outfield has been a little bit more the past couple of years. something different, something I'm getting used to, but understand that I need to be able to do a bunch of different things to be able to impact, you know, if I get a chance to play in the big leagues. So something I kind of just try to roll with and try to get a little bit better with every day. It's a pretty valuable thing now to have a guy who can play multiple positions. So trying to take that and roll with it and, you know, see if I can make that my ticket.
Yeah, well, I was about to say it adds to your value, and you just explain it because not everybody can do that.
Yeah, for sure. It's you know, something that it's never been huge, and I think now that, you know, National Leagues and even American League teams are starting to, you know, see that having a guy who can do a bunch of different things is really valuable as a bench piece and even as a person who plays every day. So, you know, like I said, just something I'm trying to roll with, and there's not a lot of people who can do it well, so just, you know, trying to do it as well as I can.
Well, Christopher, I thank you very much, and I congratulate you on all you've achieved.
Thank you very much.
Best of luck.
All right, appreciate it.
That's Christopher Bostick on the home of the Indians, WHMB TV 40. We'd like to thank our guests, Brian Esposito, Bryan Long, Christopher Bostick. We'll look forward to seeing all of you at Victory Field. Goodbye, everybody.